Good afternoon, man. How are we?
I'm super. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. For the people that may not know who are watching, but I'll be surprised if they don't, please introduce yourself. That'll be lovely.
Great. I'm Billy Lunn, and I'm a songwriter, lead singer, and guitarist of the rock band The Subways
Yeah,
from Welwyn Garden City. So,
lovely stuff. Down the road from me, I'm in Watford, so it's all
oh,
it's all
cool.
relative to me.
I remember playing in Watford, the Flag. We played a
Oh,
bunch of
mate.
gigs there.
Flag is it's kind of long. Well, no, the flag is still there, but it's O'Neill's now. The gig room is still there.
When things are back open again, I might just I might take a visit just for old time's sake, for posterity. Just to
Swing by.
soak it up.
It's interesting because like it's still the same room. It just has an O'Neill's logo in the background, but
Oh,
they've
yeah.
actually it's quite sweet. They got the original lettering of the flag stuck to the wall like, in the gig room.
Have
So it
they?
still
Oh,
says
good.
flag. So they haven't completely ignored it. It's quite
I'm
sweet.
glad.
They haven't
Keep its
ignored their
heritage in
heritage.
some. Yeah,
It's the
that's it.
heritage. It's the heritage. I mean, obviously, like with us at Juicebox, you've played the horn a bunch of times. I was
Yeah,
kicking myself because I didn't get to go. I think was it? Did you play last year or the year before? I can't remember.
we played there so many times.
2019, even. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So, we our formative years were playing at the Horn. If it
yeah.
wasn't a rock contest, then it was supporting like a Nirvana cover band we supported once, and that was
Nice.
huge for us because like
Yeah.
it was one of the first opportunities we had of watching a sound check where a band actually knew what they were doing. And you don't get those
No.
many opportunities when you're an up and coming band, because you're kind of playing with other up and coming bands. And here came, they're a Nirvana cover band, but they knew what they were talking about. And
Yeah.
the lead singer was like, "Oh, can you drop some 2K in the monitors?" And I was like,
No idea what that means.
"What's that?" So like there were new lines of inquiry, and I'd go, right, I'm gonna have to. I want to find out about what he's talking about there. So that was a great experience, and that's why like venues like the Horn are so essential, because you have and I think this is the great thing about the Horn, is that you
Yeah.
have a variety of acts coming through, and it's not just like up and coming bands, but the up and coming bands are given opportunities of playing well, with their contemporaries, but also with other bands that can offer them something that the local bands at the same level can't, which is if even if it's just like a chat at sound check, or like a bit of moral support or advice for the future,
Yeah.
or even just like, you guys are definitely on the right track. That stuff really makes a difference, especially when it comes from a long time touring band.
Totally. No, I agree. Like I remember I'm still quite new to music in general, live music as a performer. My last gig was in February and we supported Strange Bones. And I got so in my head about the performance at the end because I thought I completely bombed it. Turns out it wasn't too bad. I remember chatting to a few of the guys at Strange Bones afterwards, and they were just like, "Don't worry about it. You're new
Yeah,
and you're fine." And I instantly just like alleviated any anxiety that I had.
yeah,
And it was just such an amazing feeling. And I think that's
yeah.
been so absent, especially for smaller local acts. And ironically, for this week, this is for Independent Venue Week, this interview is going out, and
Mm,
we are celebrating it here
yeah.
on YouTube and not actually where we're supposed to be because of various reasons.
Yeah.
And like, it's heartbreaking. I think
Mm,
there's so many other vulgar words I could throw out to describe how I feel about it, but
yeah.
heartbreaking is kind of the main one. So like, beyond the horn and the flag, really, what is like your history with grassroots venues? And again, like talked about the horn, is there any other good venues that you've been to, especially regarding your relationship to Independent Venue Week, if you've ever played an event for them or anything like that?
Yeah, well, we formed with a view to
Yeah.
playing the rock contest at the Square in Harlow. A
Yes.
few of my
Yeah.
mates at school. I went to school in Hertford, so I grew up in Welwyn Garden City, went to school in Hertford, hung around in Harlow. So that's the thing about Herts and Essex, is you're all
Well into Lincoln. Like,
yeah. So I organised for my brother Josh
yeah.
to learn to play the drums. I taught him the opening section to Supersonic by Oasis. Nice and
Nice.
simple. And then, he was playing around with it, and he got way better than me. So I was like, okay, I guess you're the drummer then. And I was on guitar, and I was dating Charlotte at the time,
Mm.
and she was just sitting there, and I thought, do you want to pick up a bass? Like,
Nice,
here
yes.
you go. So my dad said, it'd be really nice if you invited Charlotte to play. I was like, how rude of me, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, do you want to jam? Here's a root. Well, I think it was about a girl. Yeah. So it's E, G, E, G, C
Yeah.
sharp, G sharp, F sharp. So that was it. And we were like, great, so we can play some tunes, so let's try and learn some. We learned other people's songs with a view to like maybe start making our own stuff so that we could enter into the rock contest, because I was just like, I just want to get on that stage because my friends were on that stage, I want to get on that stage. Totally. And that's the importance of like of that venue, was that it became like a totemic center, a creative hub, where everyone's attention was drawn to it, and because of it stimulated creativity. So we played our first gig there at the rock contest, and it was abominable, like
perfect,
awful. I came halfway through the performance, I was like, I don't think I ever want to do this again. I don't think I ever want to put on a guitar again. I don't think I ever want to play again. It was so bad. And then we got off stage and I kind of got over it. And do you know what? Like, I think the thing about me is that if I fail at something, or even if I have the sense that I can't do it, I'm like, gonna do it. I'm gonna nail it. And then if I don't want to do it anymore, at least I know I kind of, I left on my own terms, not because I wasn't very good at it. So I was like, right, we're getting straight into the next rehearsal. We're going to write some more of our own songs. We're going to learn how to tune our guitars, do all the stuff that you need to do to get through a gig, because we just about got through that gig with our dignity intact. So, we got back on stage, I think it was like the next year, for the rock contest, and everyone was like, "What, you guys have improved? That's great," because we worked at it. So like the square from day one for us was always huge, but the square wasn't just like a local community center. It was that, where you had a group of staff, a faculty, if you will, of people who taught rock school, and you had like pastoral care, so people who were going through tough times at home. They went straight to the square. My friend, his parents died. First place he went to was the square to talk about it with his friends and with the people there who ran the square, because that's where he got solace. So that the square also had like these huge bands like Oasis and Blur and I saw McCluskey at the square, and I was like, a band can be like this, like they can tell jokes and be fun, like music can be witty. It's and it was totally changed my perception, and that never would have happened had I not been granted entry to the square as like an under 14 or whatever. So these independent venues are integral to access for people, not just for like enjoyment, not even just for like I don't know, access to culture, but to social circles and friendship. I fell in love with my wife at the square. I saw her across the dance floor, and I said to my mate, who I met him at the square, and we've been best mates for over half our lives now. I turned to him and I said, I think I'm gonna marry that girl over there. Like I'm in love, and it happens. So I have the square to thank for that. But also, Welwyn Garden City, I grew up here, so it was always really important for me to have somewhere here to go to. And on every Thursday when I was at college, at Oaklands College, around the corner from this studio here where I've just moved into, they did an acoustic night on Thursday nights. And I remember the first one starting up, and I thought, oh my God, how cool is this open mic? And I was so used to rocking and rolling in the band, like turning everything up to the point where you're like, is that an E? I don't even care, whatever. And you get up there with an acoustic guitar and it's completely different. And you're bare naked as someone who loves distortion and loves raw noise. And it doesn't matter if you miss a note or not. When you've got an acoustic on your lap and you've got people just staring at you and there's no movement in the crowd whatsoever, you have to be able to sing, you have to be able to play, you have to know your material, you have to know how to speak to people, because there's dead silence in between songs. So that was really important for as a learning curve. And after that I was like, do you know what, every three or so rehearsals it should just be an acoustic rehearsal. So we sit down, and now it's integral for us that we sit down and play the songs acoustically, because if it doesn't work acoustically, it shouldn't, it doesn't hold together. We're like, if if it holds together, hangs together, and it all really works, and the melodies and lyrics are coming through, and you're just playing acoustic instruments, then the song has something about it that transcends the sort of raw punk attitude that you want to pile on top of it. So that was really important. And then eventually, like, that turned from Thursday night acoustic sessions into full-blown gigs, and it was majestic. Like the pub transformed. It used to be the Cottage, and then it became the Doctor's Tonic. And downstairs it was sparse. You know, people very rarely went there, maybe for like a lunch and an afternoon drink, and sometimes on the weekends. But you would have the place packed out midweek because a gig was being played, and it, you know, it wasn't a massive gig. It was just like some guy brought down his mates, and, you know, and you're like, actually, I caught a few of their songs a couple of months ago. It was really interesting stuff. Yeah. I'm going to go and actually check them out again. And then you end up finding some of your favorite bands there. And, you know, bands like the Fratellis passed through there, and Bad Manners played there. So, you know, it's they become places of transcendence, independent venues, because they're not beholden to, you know, just selling tickets. It's about building a community.
Totally. No, I agree. Like, I mean, there's so many great, like, pickup notes from what you just said there. Like, I think there's something really beautiful about the fact that your mate just found, like, comfort and just something after something like that happened. There's something really, really vulnerable and beautiful about that. Yeah, that's something I miss. Like, beyond just a place where I can dance and get drunk, it's like I felt safe at places like the Horn.
Exactly.
I felt even in like Monster Ruckus, and sure there'll be the odd drunk, you know.
Always.
Totally.
But it's about, you learn how to deal with them in the safe space of your local venue.
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching your live stream during the first lockdown where you played a bunch of Subway songs acoustic, and like you said, like, they all still worked in that very vulnerable manner, which I thought was very interesting to see. Cool. And especially when you've done it in like 7 different languages at the end.
Oh, Rock and Roll Queen. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is like, I think it's because of the importance of like small venues and local venues. It's always been really important to us to build a sense of community outside of the places where we live. So, you know, when you turn up in a town, you want to feel like you're playing to your people, or you get to know the staff in the venue you play. So it's really important for us to turn up and, you know, when we could shake people's hands, say our names, introduce ourselves to everybody, because you want the whole day to be great. You want everyone to have a good time, not just the crowd, not just yourselves, but everyone who's working, and especially the people behind the scenes like crew. And as a way to do that, you know, I'd sort of be like, is there anything that's kind of very specific to this area, that like, if it's a word, you know, so sometimes and you go to like, there was one festival in Bavaria, and they said, if you say this word, right, people are going to go crazy, especially if it's an English person, and it's this like really long word, and it was impossible. I had to write it down phonetically on my set list. I just stopped, right, we all stopped, and I just went, said this word, and everyone just went, whoa, like 50,000 people, like like this. And it meant something really silly, but, you know, it's the nature of the word being long. But you find these little bits out, and it just makes something really, you know, it's silly, but it's great, and it makes it special, and it makes it a kind of moment. So, you know, we'd kind of do that. So when it got to Rock and Roll Queen, I mean, the song's so simple. I wrote it when I was 16 years old.
Nice.
And it would have been dropped earlier, but our manager was like, you can't drop that. You got to keep that song. So I was like, should I change it? Should I develop lyrics? He's like, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I always listen to our manager, because he's got a really good sense. Like his music taste is fantastic. So I'm like, I can lean into that. But, you know, you get through tours sometimes, and you're like, do you know what? I don't want to fall into like a routine too much. You know, I don't want to slip into, right, let's play by numbers. And like Kurt Cobain said, unfortunately in his suicide note, he felt like he was punching in a card before walking on stage, and never want to be like that. So I will talk to the promoter, or I'll talk to the venue managers or whatever, say their Czech, and I'll be like, right, what's the Czech word for blah, 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 blah? What's the Czech? So we'll say a few things in their language, just because I think it's polite as well. You know, I think it's polite. If you go to someone else's country and you're singing your songs in your own language, make a little bit of an effort to try and
Totally.
speak to them in their own language,
At least
even
say
if it's
hi.
like, yeah, like, if you go to Russia, privyet, or whatever. Each country we go to, I make a point of learning Rock and Roll Queen. You are the sun, you are the only one, you are so cool, you're so rock and roll, in languages. And some, we've done so many tours over the years now, there are certain languages that I'm like, that's drilled into my head. So if I'm playing it, and if I'm playing Rock and Roll Queen and it's stripped down and it's just acoustic, it's so simple and it's so repetitive. I kind of have to, like, I'm going to get to a point midway through the song where I'm going to shake things up a bit. So it feels like the song's going somewhere a bit more. So yeah, Polish, Japanese, Czech, Russian, German, French, Italian, Swiss Italian, Flemish. It's all good. And it's also really great just to see like the variation in language. As you and I think that's kind of like the joy of touring. As you form some sense of unity, because eventually it got to the point where we'd turn up in a new country and they'd be waiting for me to sing Rock and Roll Queen in their language, and they'd start singing along because they'd anticipate it, and I've never sung it before, but they would know. So it was a real special moment. So I did that in the acoustic set I did for the horn. So
totally. It just took me off guard because I had no idea going in that was even a thing, like a semi-tradition now. But I mean, like, this might be a little bit ignorant to say regarding that, but I feel like even if you never did learn the other languages, just melody and chords and notes are a universal language within itself. And like, these are songs that even before you apply the different languages to, they took you across the world, and like, you've played these songs to so many faces in so many places. Didn't mean to rhyme there, but I did.
That's great.
Thank you.
Well done.
It's the artist in me, I can't deny it, mate. But like, when you're comparing like these massive festival shows, like places like the Hall, like these intimate, cramped venues, where's the difference in that? I'm guessing there has to be like some form of like scaling back or thinking, or do you treat every show like it's Wembley, sold out, like even the tiny shows? Because
well, you do and you don't. So you do have to recalibrate, because obviously, you sound check in a smaller venue. You have to take different kind of like sonics and dynamics into consideration. So you're like, okay, pull back on the drum mics, and pull back on the overheads and all that sort of stuff. But everyone's so much closer, and we get asked quite often, like, which do you prefer, the 50,000 or 70,000 capacity gigs, or the 100 or 500? And they're all excellent, they're all amazing. Like, it just playing is a total privilege. But you get on stage and a big venue, and you're like, right, they're so far, because the first time we played Reading main stage, it was just like, what is going on? They're 30 yards away from the front of the stage. I can't do this is impossible. But you get used to it. You're like, okay, so today the conditions are, we're on stage, the stage is this big, and we're this distance from each other. So if there are any problems mid-show, let's look at each other at this point in the set. We're all good. Okay, cool. So you do have to kind of like take that into consideration, and that comes with experience, because there have been times when we've gone, hey, we can do this, and we walk out on stage and we're like, I didn't account for the fact that we'd be so far apart, that I'd be so far apart from so far away from my amp, that I'd be so far away from Josh, that I'd need more I'd need more music in the monitors, or vocals or drums or whatever. And then like, audience participation is really important for us. So if the audience is really far away, I'm going to have to take that into account when I relate to them. So I can't go, hey, you, how you doing? Because I can't see you. I haven't got my glasses on. So I can't. So sometimes it can be a blur. So you make things more general, and you speak under the assumption that you're not really going to get a personal response. So you do take that into account, and there are. I've had just as transcendental moments on stage in front of 100 people as I have in front of 50,000 at Reading Festival. It's because of those those varying factors, in a small venue where everything's a bit closer and you can see the whites of people's eyes and the whites of their teeth and their tongue as they're speaking and singing. You can see the creases on their faces, the sweat dripping off and the sweat dripping off the ceiling. You can see footprints on the walls. And you fear for your own safety because at some point the barrier is going to fall over. But you're just like, this is it. This is the carnivalesque experience. This is the utter chaos that like is not really sanctioned outside these walls. So let's enjoy this. Let's tear things up. Totally. And then the things that are a little more formalized when you play like big festivals, because you're one of 100 or 150 bands, and you have to take into account that you don't want to go over your time. You have to take into account you've got a stage manager looking over your shoulder. And so the show has to be a little bit more theatrical. You have to kind of stand out a little bit. You have to understand that you got the camera over here looking at you on the left side, so make sure your profile's good.
Get the jawlines out, lads.
Yeah, it's like, oh god, he's got me right side, that's me grey side. That side. I think there have been moments like there's moments I think about are like Berlin Huxley's in 2011 or 2012, I think it was. And I walked out on stage, and it was a really cold venue, and I was just feeling like it was such a big venue.
Yeah.
And we walked on stage, we walked down this gangway, and it was all quite industrial looking. And I just thought, oh God, this is really putting me out of the mood. Walked out on stage, the lights went up, the crowd went up, and we hit the first note. And something happened. I went somewhere and then woke up and we were halfway through the set. It was just, I was outside my body. I was in the crowd with them, and my body just went into kind of like muscle memory, and I was just playing, and I was just somewhere else. And it was because of the crowd, because it was such a big place, and yet they managed to make everything feel so intimate. And Charlotte was on it, Josh was on it. I didn't miss a note. It was just great. And then there are moments when, we've played in places where, I'm going to say, I can't remember exactly the name of the venue, but it was in Swansea. Awful place. Like in the day, like the dressing room has a toilet next to the fridge, and it's crappy little place. It was like an art installation. They're like, make yourself comfortable.
Welcome to Tate Modern, play your show.
But like we remember, like you walking into the venue and our feet are sticking to the floor. And you get on stage and you're like this.
Yeah.
But about halfway through the show, it just something about you could just read it on their faces, and they can read it on our faces. It's like, this is special, isn't it? Like this is really something special. So it varies and for different reasons, Totally. Sometimes there are moments like we played this venue called the Empire in Middlesbrough, and it's nowhere near as grand as it sounds. No. But the barrier fell over, and Charlotte gets really upset about these things because she worries so much about people's safety. And I think that's down to me, because she ends up worrying about my safety, because I put myself at harm's risk by diving off balconies, jumping off the drum kit, diving into the crowd. I can see her face. I'm looking up at the crowd, and she's like, "Is everything okay? Are you okay? Are you cool?" I'm like, "I'm fine. Look at me." So the barrier came down, and I could see on Charlotte's face, she's like, "Oh my God!" And she's still playing, but she's looking at me like, and look inside stage going, "Someone do something." But the crowd like pulled the barrier up like this. I nearly just fell back.
I was going to say, you good?
My chair saved me. Pulled the barrier up and just carried on rocking. And it was just like, everyone's in this together, man. And that's what makes music, what makes live gigs so special. Totally. Someone falls over, they pick them up, they dust them off. You good, man? Let's go. Smash.
Back down you go.
That's it. And it's there's this relationship between the crowd. I don't like calling them fans. They're the crowd, because it's kind of like a reciprocal thing. And we've been very keen to sort of break down the barrier between like the mystified band, the mythical rock icon hero. We just want to smash that down. Just be like, how the are you guys doing? Independent venues are essential to that. So even if eventually, we have been playing huge venues, but we will always, absolutely without question, always go back to local venues. We will always be, for the rest of our career, be playing the horn. You know, if the square wasn't knocked down, we'd be always playing the square. So yeah.
I mean, thank you for that. That's lovely. Thank you for that. Did you am I wrong in thinking that did you book an independent venue week at the Square once? Was there a weird full circle moment where you had an opportunity to like book local acts?
I mean, every time we play, I can't remember specifically if it's independent music week.
Something, yeah.
Recall, but we make a point of always inviting at least one local band to play with us whenever we play a venue, even if it's a huge venue. So, you know, we'll have a touring band with us, and we'll always be like, right, we'll say to the promoter, look, find someone who really wants to play this gig and just put them on first.
Yeah.
You know, because that was the kind of opportunity
to them.
And we were desperate for those opportunities, and we were given them. And the worst thing that we could do is deprive other bands of that opportunity. Yeah. So open the door, you know, pull the ladder down, let other people up. Even if it's like their one and only experience of playing a gig, let alone a gig like that, let them do it. Let them have that. It's so important.
Totally. Like, I feel like there's room for everyone on the metaphorical Noah's Ark of live music.
It's so true. You're absolutely right. It's not a bottleneck. You know, the space for rock. I mean, now is proving that over the last couple of years, we've gone from these real sort of totemic, stereotypical rock and roll iconic bands that people are saying the next Arctic Monkeys is around the corner. I don't think they are. I don't think we want the next Arctic Monkeys. I think we don't. You know, I think people are like, there's more to life than waiting for that moment when the rock and roll band of a generation that consists of 4 white guys is coming. Like we don't, you know, music is diversifying so much. Absolutely. And in the same way that like opening opportunities for people of marginalized communities and the poor and the most vulnerable, that doesn't mean that they're going to take your place in the queue. That just means that, you know, they're getting the opportunities that you're getting, and we all get that chance. Yeah. And also giving is getting, you know, isn't it so rewarding to give something over? So I think if you get the opportunity to give, don't not do it, you know, because you want to preserve your status, or you want to preserve your place in the pantheon, or whatever nonsense you happen to think about the rock and art, the arts culture, but rock in particular, which has been largely dominated by a very stereotypical model of four guys, leather jackets, looking very cool. So it's always been really important to us to go to the promoter, tell us about what this place is about by showing us a band. You know, we always say, make a playlist of your favorite music, so we get a sense of what this person in this area of the world is listening to at the time, even if it's just a whole host of other UK bands. You know, we want to know, oh, so the UK bands are big here, are they? No, I'm just really into them. Okay, so what do people listen to here? Well, it engages you in conversation about their tastes and their friends' tastes, and what that says about local radio stations and other local venues in the area, and, you know, maybe like national radio stations in different countries that I think a lot of UK bands don't think about. I mean, they think like BBC Radio 1 is it. They think it's like the priority, when actually you go abroad and people are like, what? You realize that the world's bigger than the UK. The world's bigger than this remote island, which is why Brexit has been such a storm, because I think the UK is learning slowly but surely, and now painfully, that actually you ain't so great. You ain't so big. This national exceptionalism by which you beheld your nation is not the truth. And maybe you should have kept your EU status so you could go abroad and actually find that out for yourself, but you didn't want to. So but you know, the opportunities for up and coming artists to go abroad now. Sorry, am I allowed to swear on this?
You're not, but however, it's funny.
So sorry.
I get to censor it, and it makes it even funnier.
Yay! So do you have like a button that you go?
Oh yeah, no, literally, I have like one of those little like comic book captions. Whack it over the mouth. Censor sound. It's beautiful.
I'm gonna watch this back just for that moment.
Yeah, just if you look at the thumbnails, just for little blue flicks, that's all you need.
Awesome.
That's all you need. But yeah, like it's so true. It feels scary in that sense that not the swearing, obviously. It feels scary in the sense that it feels a lot more fragile than ever. Industry. However, like you said, the moments where you get to give, where you get to be the torchbearer, from the Nirvana tribute act to you, the Subways, to whoever it is you're going to pass it on to next for that. Oh yeah, can I borrow your amp? Or, oh yeah, do you want to support us this one gig in your local area to show off like what's around here?
Yeah,
I think that's beautiful. Like that makes the whole difference. That makes everything feel okay, you know.
yeah.
And I can't wait for that to get back. And it's just there.
I miss it.
Yeah,
I miss those gestures of goodwill that, you know, I don't just give by myself. It's something that I've learned from other bands. You know, other bands have given me, you know, pedals.
Yeah.
You know, but I was like, what's that sound? You know, oh, I'm taking this home, am I? Thank you. So, you know, the last time we played the horn, actually, we played with an amazing all-female duo called the Pale Hearts. Just astounding. And after the gig, they were like, that main distortion sound, what is it? I was like, this one, take it. You know, the blues driver.
Boss.
It's
everything
like
you need.
Yeah, it is.
Don't.
Yeah, I remember we when I first got it, and we played a gig at the garage upstairs. This was like 2003 probably, and I just got it, and I'd moved from just the using distortion on the amp, which everyone was just like, what are you doing? So I was like, okay, I'm going to find a really good clean sound on the amp, and then I'm going to add a pedal. And I got the blues driver for free with like when I bought this guitar, but it'd just be sitting there. I'd be like, I don't know what that does. Like, you know, it's got additional stuff. I can't deal with that right now. And then I thought, right, I'm going to go out and buy a 9-volt DC adapter and plug it in, and then a few extra leads, and I'm going to try this thing out. It's like, oh, that's sweet. And we played this gig. I was sound checking, and the guy pulled the sound and went, what's that? What pedal you? That's the best distortion pedal I've ever heard in my life. And I think he was like Brazilian, and he's like, that's the best distortion pedal I've ever heard in my life. Amazing. I was like, this is the one. This is it. I've used it. That's it. It's my number one pedal.
Mate.
So anytime someone's like, what's that distortion? I'm like, blues driver. Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Into the fold. This is it. It's changing your life.
It's just like I said, everything you need, nothing you don't. I don't use a blues driver. I've always favored like a Rat or like a Proco Rat or like
beautiful.
Still great. You know,
use that on the bass guitar as well. Oh my God. Yeah.
A bassist nicked it off me once to try it out, and he just went, literally his face, he hit like, I don't know, like a G, just went.
Yeah. It's like you start bordering from musical into pornography.
You got to be real careful with that.
Oh margin. Yeah. If the abstract notion of sex was a sound, this would be it here.
Oh God. How do we top that note? I feel like that's a perfect way to wrap it up. We can't. As soon as you get
that intersection between music and sex, you're like, it can't go any further than this.
Let's not talk about politics. Let's just leave it at that. This has been to wrap up on a bow. This has been absolutely awesome, man. This has been absolutely great. Like, thank you for stepping in for your time as well.
Oh no, it's been a great start to my Thursday. It's Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, a great start to my Thursday. Yeah. Who knows now? Like,
it's
like there is no weekend. There's nothing.
There's nothing.
It's just time's moving.
Yeah.
We're growing old, but we're not doing anything of note.
Totally. If that's the way it's going to go, I might as well just roll with it. I feel we all should just roll with it at this point.
That's day by day.
Day by day.
Yeah. Wake up and have like a vague goal.
Yeah.
And then if you haven't achieved it, don't beat yourself up about it. If you have achieved it, just be okay. And then, just be glad.
Oh, dude. Look, my like complex of trying to get everything right does kick my own ass sometimes, but it's just sometimes like, if I just learn one new chord a week, that's a win. I'll take that.
It is.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I have literally like two tiny questions for a set you free into the wild again.
Oh, go for it.
Generic. Do you have any like tips for any new artists maybe watching, especially coming out whenever we're allowed to gig again in a safe post-COVID environment? What sort of passing advice would you give? And also, what's happening to you right now? Subways, with the studio, the new studio we're in right now. What's
Yeah.
going on?
Oh, great. Well, I'll deal with myself first because that'll be nice and quick.
Yeah, great.
So I've basically I've wrapped up on the Subway's new album, which we
Nice.
recorded partially before the pandemic. So before we went out on tour to celebrate our Young Fraternity
Yes.
15th anniversary, which got postponed after 3 days. Oh, yeah, postponed. We're going to keep saying postponed after 3 dates. That was about halfway finished. So as soon as we went into lockdown, I was like, gonna lock myself in the studio. Charlotte went back up to Sheffield. I sent her a microphone. She bought a 2-channel interface and she recorded her bass parts there and her vocals there. Josh recorded his drums over in France, sent them over. So I've basically been piling everything together and loose mixing, ready to send to Aid Bushby for full mixing. And after I did that, I had to shut down my previous studio because, you know, I ran the space. So I rented out to a tattooist, a vocal coach, and another mixing engineer. And they were like, work's not coming in, can't pay the rent, so we're going to have to go. So I basically just had to say to the landowner, the landlord, sorry, you know, I'm going to have to break contract because it's going to cost me a third to break the contract than it is to see out the contract. So I was like, just going to have to shut down. So I moved everything out into storage. Leading up to Christmas, I was just like, I've lost it. You know, luckily I finished the album, so I felt okay about that. But I was like, I've lost my creative space. And then this room came up. I just quickly vanned everything over, chucked it in. I finished organization 2 days ago, and this is it here. And I've got my speakers here, and you know, everything's at my fingertips, and I am beyond happy. And I'm now just mixing other artists. So I'm sending the call out there if other artists want their songs mixed. I'm your man.
Where can they find you if they can?
Well, probably best just to tweet me or Instagram me or on Facebook. So Billy Lunn on all of those.
Lovely.
But the Subway's on Twitter. And on that note, if you're an up and coming band and you know I'm so sorry that you're going through all of this at this time, and you know that the government aren't supporting your industry properly. You know, I know that the Tories said that they were being amazing by giving us £1 billion, but when you weigh that relatively to the German government, who've just handed their arts industry £50 billion, you see just how badly our government is doing, not just like on a variety of fronts, but specifically with regard to the creative arts industry, which over the last 10 years they have worked systematically to destroy. You know, venue closures aren't novel over coronavirus. Over the last 10 years, as we've toured the UK, venues have been closing, you know, 5-6 gigs after we finished. We played there. We go over to Europe, they're thriving. Over here, government couldn't give a rat's whatever about music or about the creative hubs that keep that tie communities together. So I would say, believe in what you're doing. What you're doing is valid, it's valuable, and you know, people do value it. They do appreciate it. They do love your work. So keep creating. When it comes to organizing rehearsals, I would suggest set up Zoom calls. They're not optimal, but they're something. It's a way of communicating. If you there are a number of free applications out there for recording. So if you can get hold of DAW, such as Reaper, maybe to record your music, try and see if you can get some demos underway.
That's how I started Reaper. The free way.
It's great.
It's
also like I mean, even when you get to like top end production mixing, people are like, you know, I'm not leaving Reaper. It's fantastic. So that's something that you can do. Or even like something as simple as Audacity. It might not seem like it now, but always have in mind that at some point we will be back underway. You know, things will be back underway. So keep creating, keep recording, keep rehearsing with a view to getting back on with things at your local venue. Stay in touch with your local venues, see if there's anything you can do, because I imagine that there are some things that they would like to offer in return, even if it's an opportunity when things are back and up and running to give you a gig or whatever. But now's when we really need to come together and rely on each other and lean on each other, and but also, know your boundaries, know where your own personal boundaries lie, and look after yourselves, look after your mental health. It's very easy to say, it's very difficult to do. As a depressive myself, it's a complex nexus to navigate. So just day by day, that's the rule of thumb for me, and hopefully it will work for you. I'm so sorry that was like really circumventory, but
no, that wasn't. That was important. It's truthful. I think it's a beautiful reminder, man. Don't say sorry.
Okay. I know I can rattle on and
no, don't. I am like the world's greatest rambler. Like I have to watch myself. I'm the host, and sometimes I talk more than them, and I'm like, like I've defeated the object. But
I have to sometimes, I'm like, bullet point, this is where you were when you started talking, go back to it, please. Like
mate, I literally I have the strong power of ADHD tangents on my side. I can just go,
wow.
And I even have to go like I've started like this to myself in like public situations, like down on my leg. If I click, I'm like, okay, I gotta stop now. Like to snap out of my talking trance. But no, like genuinely, like I needed to hear that myself personally. Like I don't know about people watching it, but I know I needed that. So like that alone, like thank you for that. And again, thank you for this. This has been
anytime.
Awesome, man. This has been fantastic.
And if there are any bands who like do want to get in contact, like my DMs are always open for advice. Because I rely on my friends.
Yes.
And I rely on my musical peers and also my heroes. So if you consider me a musical peer, by all means, message me for advice. If I can help, I will.
Yes. Yeah. Know your own boundaries too. I'll chuck your advice back at you.
Yeah. If I don't respond straight away, it's because I'm trying to find my zen.
I feel that hard. Trust me. Yeah. As long as you're aware of yourself, then you're all good. But yeah, mate. Thank you very much. This is
Thank you.
Like no other good words I can say with my mouth in terrible English can convey how awesome this has been. So appreciate
I need an extra coffee if I'm going to talk anymore. So.
Oh, you're telling me.
It's so important for me, coffee. I'm just like, oh.
I feel that. I'm going to get one actually. I'm going to nab a coffee. I'm going to chill out.
Do it. Be good to yourself.
Hey, yeah. And you too. Thank you, Billy, man.
Cool. Take care.
You too, mate. Cheers.